A silent shift is unfolding right now that hardly anyone mentions. The most aware, enlightened, and mentally evolved individuals are subtly stepping away from mainstream life. Not with fury or spectacle. They are simply fading out, venturing off grid, ditching online platforms, quitting jobs, dissolving connections, opting for isolation instead of crowds. Carl Jung foresaw this trend. He termed it the essential retreat. When an individual grows so mentally attuned that engaging in group obliviousness turns into real bodily distress, not just figuratively uncomfortable, truly physically and emotionally taxing. I am going to reveal why Jung thought this vanishing act is not merely unavoidable for those becoming enlightened. It is crucial. Why exactly? As your awareness heightens, enduring typical community settings grows harder. And why this is not avoidance through spirituality or mere flight. It represents the mind's defense strategy amid widespread obliviousness. If you have sensed the urge to retreat, to vanish, to abandon everything, Jung might argue you are not unfriendly. You are evolving beyond what the group framework can hold. Here is what Jung grasped that clarifies it all. Community functions on shared obliviousness. Common illusions, widespread assumptions, accepted hidden aspects. These are not flaws in the setup. They form the setup itself, and it functions solely if all join without awareness. The instant somebody awakens, truly awakens, not merely conceptually but mentally, they turn into a flaw in the structure. They spot the assumptions others inhabit. They identify the hidden parts everyone dodges. They comprehend the tactics all are employing without realization. And after you notice it, you cannot ignore it. Jung went through this himself. As his insight broadened, he discovered regular interpersonal exchanges more and more intolerable. Not due to superiority, but since he was alert amid a gathering of folks mumbling during slumber. Each dialogue demanded he act, as if he overlooked what he observed, ignored what he grasped, failed to comprehend the true undercurrents. This represents the downside of insight. You grow mentally isolated even amid company. You are using another dialect, perceiving alternate layers, functioning from an alternate existence. And the work needed to connect that divide, to perpetually convert between your insight and group obliviousness, turns draining. Thus, the enlightened begin vanishing not as they despise community, but since remaining demands they compromise their insight. Daily life insists they feign slumber. Each exchange asks they mute their glow. Each bond requests they become smaller than their growth. And finally, the mind declares stop, retreat, safeguard your insight. Cease allowing the group oblivious to sap what you have labored intensely to build. Jung found that while you merge your individual hidden side, the group hidden side grows intolerable to observe. You are viewing a whole community casting its obscurity while rejecting its presence. Once you have confronted your personal potential for harm, observing others cast theirs onto targets turns tormenting. Once you have merged your personal obscurity, witnessing communities' hidden casts, like the rival faction, is harmful. That cluster is the issue. Those folks are the fault. It seems like observing a widespread mental disorder, because that is precisely it. Jung labeled this the weight of perception. The enlightened individual perceives that many communal clashes are merely hidden castes. Conflicts are group hiddens colliding. Ideological splits are widespread castes. Online fury is group hidden content hunting marks. After you perceive this, joining grows unfeasible. You cannot align with the crowd when you realize it chases its own hidden. You cannot choose factions when you grasp both are casting. You cannot join group accusation when you identify it as group obliviousness. Thus, you retreat not from arrogance, but from mental requirement. One of Jung's learners captured it ideally. I once held firm ideological views. Then I merged my hidden and realized my views were merely casts. Now, viewing ideological arguments, I see dual clusters fiercely casting their unaware content toward one another, while labeling it fairness or reality. I cannot join any longer. It would resemble entering a widespread illusion. But here is what is truly occurring. The enlightened are not only perceiving the group hidden, they are sensing it. When you grow aware, you turn energetically attuned. Existing near unaware hidden casting seems like mental aggression. It is not criticism. It is true energetic mismatch. Jung observed this in his personal existence. Following his self-realization, existing in groups turned nearly intolerable. Not as he rejected individuals, but since he could sense the unaware content churning, the castes, suppressions, hiddens, all forming a mental tempest that solely he appeared conscious of. This explains why enlightened folks vanish from online networks initially. It is a constant hidden casting device. Each browse is a barrage of unaware content. Each discussion area is a hidden sparring arena. For somebody who has merged their hidden, it resembles being compelled to observe folks strike themselves while faulting others for the marks. Jung's additional observation. After you have self-realized toward your true essence, enacting your faked turns unfeasible, and community insists on nothing except faked enactment. Prior to enlightenment, you could engage in communal tactics without awareness. Grin when anticipated. Utter the correct phrases. Fulfill your position. But after you have contacted your true essence, that profound fact passed every disguise. Returning to fakad enactment seems like mental demise. Each communal scenario insists on enactment, the job fakad, the kin position, the online persona, the permissible views, the suitable feelings. For somebody yet aligned with their facade, this appears standard. For somebody who has discovered their essence, it appears like asphyxiation. Jung uncovered this via personal encounter. Following his encounter with the unaware, he could not enact the appropriate Swiss mental expert any longer. He could not feign agreement with group views he penetrated. He could not sustain bonds that demanded he be untrue. Thus, he retreated to Bollingen, his structure near the water, where he could exist genuinely as himself. This is not unfriendly. It is pro-genuine. The enlightened individual is not dismissing community from resentment, but from mismatch. They have grown too genuine for settings that demand artificiality, too genuine for areas that insist on enactment, too complete for holders that solely permit pieces. One of Jung's clients, a prosperous leader who had experienced self-realization, captured the unfeasibility. I attend leadership sessions and all are enacting their leader positions, uttering what leaders ought to utter, considering what leaders ought to consider. I cannot perform it any longer. It resembles being requested to feign I am somebody I have never existed as. My genuine essence lacks expression in that setting. Solely my facade did, and it is gone. She did not quit with drama. She subtly vanished, shifting away across periods, relocating to a tiny community where she could exist genuine instead of prosperous. Not from defeat, but from the victory of discovering herself. This is occurring all over. The enlightened are departing professions that demand facade enactment, terminating bonds founded on untrue essences, forsaking communal groups that insist on disguises. They are not stumbling at community. They are triumphing at genuineness. And that triumph renders communal involvement unfeasible. Here is what Jung comprehended in terms of energy. Sustaining awareness in an unaware setting demands immense mental vigor, and enlightened folks are recognizing it is not viable long term. Consider what the aware individual must perform in standard community. Perpetually screen out unaware castes, uphold limits against vitality drainers, convert between profundity and shallowness, sustain their vibration amid encirclement by interference, handle not merely their personal content, but the unaware content everybody else is emitting. Jung termed this mental effort. The unseen labor-aware folks perform merely to persist in unaware areas. It is fatiguing. Each exchange demands you to avoid responding to castes, avoid taking in others' unaware content, avoid being drawn into group spectacles, avoid aligning with the unaware vibration nearby, avoid compromising your fact to preserve balance. For unaware folks, this is not effort. They are drifting with the group flow. For aware folks, it resembles paddling against the current in a flood of obliviousness. Ultimately, you must exit the flow or submerge. Jung observed that his most aware clients would acquire ongoing tiredness, enigmatic ailments, melancholy, not from individual disorder, but from the fatigue of sustaining awareness in unaware settings. The remedy was not counseling. It was retreat from the settings sapping them. One female, an educator who had enlightened via periods of internal labor, acquired intense ongoing tiredness. Health examinations revealed no issue. Via examination with Jung, she recognized she was spending vast vigor sustaining her awareness while encircled by unaware peers and learners throughout the day. She was not ill. She was vitally exhausted when she departed educating and relocated to a hut amid wilderness. Her vigor restored in days, not from relaxation, but from no longer needing to sustain awareness against the perpetual force of group obliviousness. This explains why enlightened folks vanish toward wilderness, toward isolation, toward tiny aware groups, not to evade duty, but to protect the awareness they have labored diligently to cultivate. They grasp that awareness is valuable and limited, and expending it on unaware exchanges resembles dispensing liquid into dust. Jung recognized this retreat as symbolic, the recluse stage that each self-realizing individual must access, not eternally, but obligatorily. The mind demands isolation to merge what community would split. The recluse symbol is not regarding disdain for humanity. It is regarding mental obligation. When you are changing at a core stage, you require distance from effects that would drag you toward former habits. You require quiet to perceive your internal tone. You require isolation to merge without disruption. Jung personally experienced deep recluse stages. His periods at Bollingen were not leisure. They were mental obligation. He required separation from group awareness to cultivate personal awareness. He required detachment from others' castes to comprehend his personal profundities. This is what is occurring to enlightening folks currently. They are not vanishing since they are fragile or unfriendly. They are adhering to a symbolic template that self-realization demands. The recluse stage is when the hidden merges without communal force to suppress it. The essence arises without facade insists. Internal insight cultivates without external clamor. Mental change finishes without halt. But here is what Jung stressed. The recluse stage is not flight. It is readiness. The enlightened individual retreats not to forsake community, but to cultivate something community requires. They are nurturing insight, merging fact, turning into what Jung termed deep sea creatures, entities who have adjusted to profundities others cannot access. One of Jung's analysans, a thinker, vanished from scholarly existence for 3 years. All believed he had suffered a collapse. He had achieved an advance. In isolation, he merged understandings that would have been unfeasible while upholding his scholarly facade. When he reappeared, he delivered groundbreaking concepts, but they could solely arise in retreat from the exact framework they would ultimately alter. The recluse stage appears like vanishing, but it is truly intensifying. The enlightened individual is not fleeing. They are venturing profounder than community permits. They are performing the labor that can solely be accomplished in isolation, cultivating the awareness that may ultimately aid the group, but solely after it is completely shaped. Jung's concluding understanding provides optimism. The vanished do not remain absent eternally, but when they reappear altered, not to join obliviousness, but to provide awareness to those prepared to accept it. The enlightened who vanish adhere to the champion's voyage, retreat, change, reappear with offerings. But the reappearance is not to standard community. It is to the borders, the fringes, the areas where awareness can persist without concession. They turn into what Jung termed edge residents, existent but not joining, accessible but not engulfed. They may reappear as creators producing from genuine profundities, restorers laboring with persons prepared to enlighten, instructors exchanging with tiny clusters of explorers, authors providing guides for additional vanishing spirits, mentors for those commencing their retreat. But they never reappear to the core. They cannot. After you have self-realized, you cannot undo it. After you grow aware, you cannot feign obliviousness. After you discovered yourself, you cannot exist from facade. Jung witnessed this template frequently. His clients who completely self-realized seldom reappeared to their prior existences. They formed fresh ones, plainer, calmer, more genuine. They discovered methods to add without forfeiting awareness. They acquired to provide without being depleted. One client, a counselor who vanished for 2 years, reappeared not to conventional labor, but to laboring with a tiny cluster of persons experiencing spiritual crisis. She could not perform general counseling any longer, solely labor with those encountering what she had encountered. Her labor was small but deep. She was unseen to core community, but a vital link to those enlightening. This is the pattern. Enlightened folks vanishing from large community, but resurfacing in aware niches. Forming alternate frameworks, constructing options, providing profundity to those pursuing it, while staying unseen to those who are not. Jung thought this was progression at work. Not all enlighten at once. The trailblazers vanish initially, form fresh areas, then turn into signals for the subsequent surge. What appears like forsaking is truly design. Constructing the frameworks that will bolster group enlightenment when it is prepared. Allow me to combine Jung's full view of why mentally enlightened folks are vanishing. They can no longer endure the group hidden that unaware community casts. Their genuine essence cannot enact the facade that community insists. The vigor needed to sustain awareness in unaware areas turns unviable. They access the obligatory recluse stage that self-realization demands. They ultimately reappear, but solely to aware borders, not unaware cause. This vanishing is not defeat, it is progression. Not fragility, but insight. Not forsaking, but symbolic obligation. The enlightened are adhering to a template as ancient as awareness itself. Retreat, alter, reappear altered. Community encounters this as deprivation, forsaking, even disloyalty. Where have all the aware individuals vanished? Why are the most insightful tones growing softer? Why are the enlightened forsaking the group when it requires them utmost? But Jung might argue they are not forsaking the group, they are readying something for it. In their retreat, they are cultivating what group awareness is not prepared for yet. In their vanishing, they are forming areas for others to vanish toward. In their quiet, they are nurturing terms the group cannot yet perceive. If you are sensing the urge to vanish, Jung would desire you to understand this is not avoidance through spirituality or mere flight. It is mental obligation. Your awareness has cultivated to a level where joining group obliviousness is no longer feasible without compromising yourself. The retreat you are sensing is not unfriendly. It is symbolic. You are not forsaking community. You are adhering to the recluse's route that each self-realizing individual must traverse. You are not fragile for being incapable to endure obliviousness. You are aware, and awareness demands distinct circumstances than slumber. Permit yourself to vanish, not eternally, but for the present. Discover your Bollingen, whether it is bodily isolation or mental separation. Cease spending your awareness on unaware exchanges. Cease enacting for viewers that cannot perceive you. Cease converting your profundity into shallow phrases. Your vanishing is not self-centered. It is obligatory. The group requires individuals who have completely self-realized more than it requires individuals who partly join. It requires profundity more than shallowness, genuineness more than enactment, awareness more than adherence. And when you reappear, if you reappear, you will reappear with offerings that could solely be cultivated in vanishing. You will provide what could not be provided while upholding false inclusion. You will utter facts that could not be uttered while enacting approval. The mentally enlightened are vanishing because that is what enlightenment demands. Not eternally, but obligatorily. Not from resentment, but from affection. Affection for fact, awareness, genuineness. Affection that declares, I must grow complete, even if that signifies existing solitary. Jung might declare, vanish awarely. Retreat with intent. Utilize your recluse stage for merging, not separation. And recall, your vanishing is readying something. You are not departing the group. You are trailblazing where it will ultimately require to venture. If you are vanishing or sensing the urge to retreat, like this video and subscribe to Wake and Win, where I delve into Jung's understandings for those traversing the self-realization route. View the clip appearing now regarding the recluse symbol and how to employ retreat for change, not flight. Recall, your vanishing is not forsaking. It is progression, and the group requires progressed persons more than it requires adhering members.